Hi y'all, it's Linda, and today at my quirky quarter acre we are not only battling squash bugs, but the blight has come to the tomatoes. So today I have to do a lot of pruning and maybe pull a few things out and replace them. It's not too late to have a second crop of tomatoes, so I'm going to have to decide whether these plants down here are worth keeping or whether they just need to go. I do have a few replacements waiting in the wings. These are suckers that I rooted. These guys are all looking pretty rough. You can see how they're dying back. They're still producing quite a few green tomatoes, and they are getting ripe, but the leaves themselves are just terrible. So I'm going to get to pruning, and we'll see what's left when I'm done. Okay, you can see behind me here, it's pretty much a hatchet job. Some of these plants are nearly naked now, but I do want to get those diseased leaves out of there, and these may sucker out again and keep growing, keep producing, or they might just ripen the fruit that they have and then die. Either way, I'm okay with that because I can use the space for something else. And as you can see, they have just a few healthy leaves left. So we'll see what happens. Some of these are really very bare, y'all. However, I did leave the healthy, fresh leaves that are on the ends, and it's got a few suckers. I also did pull out one of the white beauties that wasn't doing anything at all. It had never even bloomed, and it was one that the deer topped for me, so I guess that had something to do with it, but there's no point in it taking up space if it's not going to do anything. I mean, it's been here for almost 3 months and it just wasn't going to make tomatoes. So I put one of the rooted suckers in its place. Here are the yellow pears and the pink bumblebees, and you can see that they are pretty much decimated, but they still have loads of tomatoes on there. And the moneymakers. One interesting thing that I found is that rosella over there. Now that rosella looked really healthy, and I am not sure why it didn't get as bad the blight like the rest of them did, but that is the one that I'll definitely be saving seeds from, because if it's blight resistant, we're in business. Now, this has been by far our favorite small tomato this year. I've never grown these before, and I just really, really like the flavor. I wish they were a little bigger, but can't have everything, I guess. And yeah, they've just been wonderful. They're really good producers. As you can see, that is loaded down, and they're a few getting ripe every day, and I've just been eating them right out of hand, and I just think they are wonderful. So I'll definitely be growing those again next year. Here's what the rosellas look like. They're actually a little darker than this kind of maroonish color when they're fully ripe. This one is not fully ripe, but I'm going to pick it anyway and take it in the house and let it finish ripening. I've got a couple others in there that I'm going to eat, and I am going inside for a while because it's pretty hot out here, and we're supposed to get rain in a couple of hours. So I wanted to get this done, and I will update you in a couple of days, and we'll see how these plants are coming along after this extreme pruning. Will they survive? We'll see what happens. Alrighty, it's August 2nd, and I'm going to give you an update on these tomatoes that I did the extreme pruning on. I was going to do this update yesterday, but we were getting rain off and on. Every time I came down here to try to do something, it started raining again. Now, I have been picking some of these tomatoes after I pruned them so harshly. I know it looked like devastation and that they were all going to die, but I'll show you what they are doing over the past few days. These cherry tomatoes and the yellow pears there behind them have actually come back out considerably since they were pruned. Now I do still see a couple of branches that have that blight on them, and these tomatoes probably won't stay here too much longer, but they are growing back out. And the yellow pears are still pretty productive. Now some of these other ones, not so much, but I'm going to pull those out as soon as those tomatoes that are on them get ripe, and then I will clean up the area and decide what to put there. This one has 4 green tomatoes on it, and the leaves are not growing back out very well, so they are probably going to be taken out pretty soon. That rosella, though, is still going strong. Now this one I think is aroma. I'm really not sure what the rooted suckers are because I didn't pay a lot of attention to which ones I was keeping, which ones I was tossing when I was pruning. But any of them, if they do well, will be a welcome addition to the garden. This Juliet, likewise, didn't have a lot of problem with the disease. However, it's not producing a lot of tomatoes either. It is blooming, but it's taking its sweet time. That is the one remaining Cosmic Eclipse. It only has 2 tomatoes on it, and they're taking forever to get ripe. This one actually looks like it's going to split. So I guess if I ever want to taste it, I will have to wait until next year, or just forget about it. I have yet to make up my mind, but if I do plant one next year, it's going to be probably out of the way somewhere so that it's not taking up prime space. So that's where we are with the tomatoes right now. I do plan to get some of these out. I have a lot of weeds to get out. We've had a lot of rain lately, and the weeds, as you know, can really spring up fast. So what I need to do is get the rest of these cleaned up, get the ripe tomatoes off, and after the plants are done, which a lot of them pretty much are, then pull those out. And I have, I think, 3 rooted suckers left that can go in the ground for an attempt at a second crop of tomatoes. The volunteer yellow pear that I have over there, and the beefsteaks, and the other cherry tomatoes that are on that side of the garden are doing really well. They don't have any blight yet. And so those are still producing. I'm still waiting on the beefsteaks to get ripe. They're, for some reason, ripening really slowly. But I should have a few more tomatoes carried on later into the season, and then if these guys do okay, then I'll have more right up through the end of the season. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, I'm going to focus on harvesting what's here, the rosella and this little Juliet here that are still doing okay leaf-wise. That is, they don't show any terrible signs of disease, are going to stay. And then I'll probably take out one of the purple Russians and this Juliet, because it's mostly stems and a few green tomatoes. Now, before I go, I'll show you the tomatoes on the other side that are looking okay still. So as you can see, these tomatoes look good. I have not staked or caged any of them. This cherry tomato right here, that thing is loaded with cherries and blooms. I mean, look at all those blooms. Every one of those is a potential tomato. These are very good cherry tomatoes. These actually came from my neighbor last year, and I saved seeds. And so, you know, if I run out of rosellas and yellow pears, then hey, I've got these guys, and they're good too. There is another yellow pear in here, which I didn't realize when I put them in the ground. There's a beefsteak in there. They're going to be a good size, but they are still green. So that's the tomato update. My extreme pruning has worked in some cases, and in some cases not so much. But that's okay, because I expected some of them were well on their way out anyway, just from the disease that was going through there. I didn't want to perpetuate that. I didn't want to keep it going, and I certainly didn't want to look at those nasty leaves and just feel sad. So I did what I could, and now I'm going to either take those plants out or let them grow, because some of them are bouncing back and doing pretty well. They seem pretty resilient. And then I will clean up the area after I pull the plants out, if I don't have anything to put there instead, and get it ready for fall planting. See you in the next video.